get started. All right, welcome back everybody to the Mismatch Misfits. Here we are again with your favorite co-host Sam Sampy and our guest Noah. Y'all want to just go ahead and say hello to the people?
We're going.
What's going on, everybody?
All right, Sampy.
I said hi.
Oh, I didn't hear you. I'm sorry. I didn't hear you. All right, I didn't hear you. Like it just kind of got blurred together.
Discord didn't pick it up.
Discord's fucking up, man.
Yeah.
Technology, man. I tell you.
Technology. All right. Just welcome back everybody. This is our second podcast of the year, I believe.
Yes.
Season two. You can catch us live every day here on Twitch at twitch.tv/illiteracy22. We can find us on all of your favorite podcast places and on YouTube at Mismatch Misfits, and everywhere you look on those two places. Today we're gonna start another series, just like how we did for our Halloween specials on October. This time we're gonna start a whole new series again. We're starting on fairy tales and the real places where they come from. We can talk about the differences between the fairy tales and the original stories, whether they be folktale or fables. Which one of you knows the difference between folktales and fables? Or do you?
I know a few, but I can't think of them off the top of my head right now.
Well, really, fables and fairy tales to me, one is completely magical and, princess, dark evil, this good versus evil type stuff. And fables, as I was taught, was about, life lessons that you were taught while growing up. Like, be careful crossing the street, or don't trust strangers, or be happy with what you got.
Okay.
I do actually remember a little bit of some of the dark lore for one fantasy character, but I won't say who.
Okay, we can save that for another time.
Man, why you gotta do that?
Well, I'm doing that because you guys are talking about. I already know what we're talking about. That's why.
He's staying on
okay.
topic.
I'm saving it.
He's staying on
See,
topic.
look, bro, I thought you were gaslighting me for a second. It's like,
no.
Hey, you know what? Never mind. It's like, no, just say what you know what I mean?
Don't leave me hanging like that.
It's like the you up text, and you text back and they don't respond and be like,
exactly. It's like,
bro.
Come on, I just want to sleep out my eyes and everything. Like
I'm waking up for you. You just gonna leave me hanging like that? It's the gaslighting. Alright, RoboBeth here in chat, since we are streaming this live, said not the gaslighting.
It happens, bro. It happens, man.
It happens. Alright, so today we're going to be talking about everyone's favorite puppet. There are no strings on me, Mr. Pinocchio himself. And Pinocchio happens to be a folktale. Mm-hmm.
It is not. It is a fairy tale.
It's a fairy tale.
It was made into a fairy tale, but it was originally a fairy tale, as it was. It fits more into the folktale genre.
Even when looked up, it says that it was a fairy tale.
It's a fairy tale.
It's a fairy tale. It's a fairy tale.
It falls between a fairy tale and a fable. This is why I kind of wanted to do this one first too, is because it falls in between both categories, because it keeps that sense of realism while adding the mythology that fairy tales have. So the difference between a fairy tale and a fable, fables tend to keep to realism.
Okay.
They tend to stick more with things that are actually true. They stick with the animals, the humans, things like that. As opposed to fairy tales are more about the focus of the conflict between good and evil, and good triumphing over evil.
Yeah.
And you have the more fantasy-like characters, such as fairy godmothers, goblins, witches, things like that. Which is why Pinocchio falls right in the center because it has those important elements of a fable where it has that moral lessons
Hmm.
that need to be learned while including a sense of realism, but then you get that sense of fantasy when they throw in the fairy godmother.
Right. Okay.
It does have a lot of lessons involved in the story. All right, and just a quick question. How do y'all know Pinocchio? What was the first time I heard about Pinocchio?
The first time I heard about Pinocchio was in the second grade. I read a book about it. You know those little like cartoonish
Oh, the
illustration
little
books?
like the little cardboard books.
Yeah,
Oh,
the little
with the
cardboard
little
illustration
gold
books.
print on the shit.
Yeah,
Oh, I
Yeah, yeah, I
remember
that's
remember
where
that
I
shit.
those.
saw it.
I
Yeah.
remember those. I think I have. I think my kids have one. Like with the little like with the little gold siding, the little gold.
Yeah, it was
Yeah,
like
Yeah,
some type of lion. Yeah. Now that you're
yeah,
saying that, I think in the second or third grade, I went to like a church school,
yeah.
and they during story time, Pinocchio was up there too. If not that, Disney, and then if not that, Kingdom Hearts. That's how I
but
know about it.
I definitely saw Pinocchio before Disney because there also used to be a lot of like those little short old school like 1930s animation films.
Hmm.
You watch those?
Yeah. My family was very big on showing my brothers and I that. Like my dad used to like watching them, so we'd watch them with him.
Oh, see, I never had anybody that taught me that stuff. I had to find out later. First time I saw about Pinocchio is through the Disney movie, and that shit kind of scared me a little bit.
I don't think I saw the Disney movie until I was like 12 probably.
Wow, but you know,
Wait, hold on. How did it scare you? I'm sorry to cut you
okay,
off, though, but I'm
no,
worried about
You're good.
that.
it's why it scared me. Okay,
Yeah.
I must have been like y'all like in the like first to second grade. As far as I can remember, I was very little, and
Mm.
the uh the Island of the Lost Boys kind of scared me how dark it was and like the feel of it. Um, and
Then it
whenever,
worked.
huh?
Then it worked.
It worked. It worked
It
on me,
worked. She
and
said
It
it.
worked.
It
and
did its
then
job.
I can't remember anything until once I saw the whale, and I was like, oh shit. Like then it scared me. But it was
Right.
like a just made me anxious. I was very anxious as a kid, so all of that stuff got me like, ooh, it was spooky to me.
Okay. All right. Well, fair enough. My bad. No, I was just confused about that. I was like, wait, out
You were worried about that for a second.
a little
Oh,
bit. A little bit. I
all
mean,
good.
to be fair, in the Wizard of Oz, the flying monkeys did kind of freak me out a bit with
Oh,
the costume design. So,
yeah, hell yeah. Sorry.
I have never actually seen the Pinocchio movie.
Okay.
So, like, I grew up. The reason why I didn't watch it as well is because my mom was a huge Disney addict, and she loved a lot of those movies because it's what she grew up with. But I couldn't get into it. A lot of them that my mom liked as well, had the sing-alongs and stuff. Some of the older Disney movies I know of, but I've never like seen them fully through.
Mm-hmm.
mhm.
But I mean, I know some of like the dark story lore behind some of the characters.
So you
Pinocchio's pretty fucking dark.
so you've been
Yeah.
you've been
If you
interested in the
didn't know the
backstories.
story,
Yeah.
do you know the original backstory of Pinocchio Illiteracy?
I do actually, and thank you for saying when that in, because that's exactly what we're going to be breaking down is the backstory of Pinocchio. Um, okay, I'm gonna let Seppi take over this one because she has more information. She has the Brothers Grimm book on it.
So Pinocchio is not part of the Brothers Grimm series. It is a Italian writer, who wrote it. So, for those who don't know, the Brothers Grimm, completely different set of brothers, though based in Europe. Pinocchio is not part of the Grimm stories.
Okay.
So it was run by, I'm gonna butcher his name, It's Carlo Collodi.
Spot
Um,
on.
That's his best.
So he wrote a number of children's stories in Italy. But Pinocchio was his most famous translated book.
Okay.
It was his longest book, and it's also the world's third most translated book.
Oh shit.
It's been translated into 260 languages.
Golly.
Damn.
It's the first book in Italy to gain national notoriety. It was, I believe originally it was a series of stories, and then they compiled it into one larger book.
Oh, so it was like a chapter book sort of sense, or like a
Yeah, in a sense, it was sort of like a chapter book, and then he kept it just kept growing from there, and it just became his bread and butter, essentially.
Okay.
Okay, that's pretty interesting. I didn't
I,
know that.
I didn't even
So,
know.
for those who want to know when it was published, it was published July 7th, 1881. It's like Noah said. It's very dark compared to what media knows of it today.
Mhm.
Mhm.
It was a very modern way of writing when it was written, cause it just, for children's book, cause that's what it was intended as. It was intended as a child's book.
You know, that's funny that children's
It's
book.
very new and modern and dark.
Yeah, but the children's book used to be so dark. Like they had
Yeah.
lessons, but it was dark.
But this book is what kind of set off the innovation for children's stories in the 19th century. This is what helped guide all our fairy tales into
See, that's a lot of
that dark gruesomeness that we'll get into in this series of the other fairy tales and their origins.
Mhm.
okay. Damn, that's a lot. This story carries a lot in its shoulders. Then, for it to be like the basis, the foundation of what children's book led on to be from that point, and like she said, like a lot of the oldest other stories that we're gonna get into, it carried a lot of weight. I didn't know that.
And you know what? I think this explains why all children are monsters in a way, because this book is pretty dark. Yo, he killed the cricket. I didn't even
Well,
know he killed
not
Jiminy
just
like
that.
that.
Spoiler,
Not just
everybody!
That's
He-
spoiler.
he-
Spoiler!
Oh
he
shit, my bad. Look, I don't know. Hey,
Um,
All right. All right, so yeah, since you already started, might as well. You want to get into some of the stuff that he did?
let's introduce him. For those who don't know who Pinocchio is, because you wouldn't be surprised, a lot of people don't know more than it's the boy whose nose grows
Mm.
when he lies. That's all people really know about him.
That's a puppet.
Yeah.
That's all we know is that he's a puppet.
Technically, Pinocchio is a wooden boy
yeah.
who was carved by a puppeteer, but he is not a puppet.
A marionette.
nah, ain't no strings on him, man.
He's not. He has
Boy.
no.
Ain't no
Yeah.
strings on me.
The original adaptation photo of him too does not look like what we see Pinocchio as today either. Looks like an Italian young boy.
Do you have it up?
Like, yes,
Hey.
I do have a photo of it up.
You want to share that with the class?
I was just telling Sampy that you remember that book, No David No?
No. Oh, I
You
see
Where the
this.
little kid,
I
where
That's
the
see-
like-
little kid was really bad, and he had like little.
That book
Horns?
is now one of the.
Oh.
This is that book that No David No is one of the first books that they read to kindergartners to
Mhm.
teach them to behave.
What?
Yeah.
My son, the first books that they ever taught him
Yeah.
was the No David No series. Because there's different books and they each come with a lesson about telling that bad little boy, hey, you cannot do these bad things because then bad things will happen. And if you do the bad things, you will have to suffer the consequences, which essentially is just an adaptation of Pinocchio.
Okay. Yeah. And for all you
I
visual
even
watchers, this is the image. And
That's Pinocchio.
So, for the
yeah.
audio listeners, you have it's not a small character. He's very tall, he's lanky, he has the long pointed nose already, he has sleek black hair like structure to him.
Fabric, we could say, like, yeah,
But
like
he's
hair,
very
like,
thin, he's very lanky. You can see the joints
think
in
of
his
a
legs.
child-sized mannequin. It's like it looks like this, a size of a child-sized mannequin, just with
Mhm.
moving parts, moving limbs. That's what it reminds me of. That image,
Mhm.
yeah, reminds me like one of those little mannequins that you see at the store. All right. So what? Okay, so we know that he's more than a puppet. Like everybody knows him as a puppet, right? That's the most commonly things that people know him as. We now know he was made by a puppeteer. Um, what else was he? Like, what was he really? 'Cause I don't
Oh,
really know much about that.
am I gonna go into it, or did you want to
No,
see him?
yeah, I'll go into it. So, what was interesting about this? He was carved from like a magical tree, and really, Geppetto didn't even find him. Right, like some guy in the middle of the forest found a magic tree that was kind of whining. He was like, "I don't want this shit." Yo, Geppetto, here's some wood. It talks. Toss it onto him, right? And what was interesting, right? Of course, everybody's familiar with Geppetto being a loving old grandpa, right? Nah, Geppetto was an asshole.
Was a big
Was
asshole.
a
He was
crank?
a drunk.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he was a drunk too. He was a cranky old drunk, right? And so he gets handed this piece of wood,
Mm-hmm.
and he's like, "The hell am I supposed to do with this?" Right? So he decides to make a boy out of him, and lo and behold, the crankiness from the old man got transferred into the little boy, which is why he got, or to the wooden boy, which is
Yeah.
why he got Pinocchio. And
I heard that I saw somewhere that this magic tree was crying and giggling like a child.
Yeah.
mhm,
So essentially, the story is the carpenter went into the woods. He started chopping down the logs,
Yeah.
and that while he was chopping down the log, it started crying out. So then he takes it to Geppetto, who's his neighbor, and he's like, "Hey, here's this wood for you." Doesn't tell Geppetto anything about this wood, leaves it, and he's like,
What
"There you
an
go."
what an ass.
And
Like,
so Geppetto carves it into the boy.
yeah,
Like Sam said,
all the
he
energy.
gains all that bad energy from Geppetto. So then, as soon as Geppetto puts on Pinocchio's feet, he immediately starts kicking the shit out of Geppetto.
see what I
Like,
mean? A little shit, bro.
he just starts kicking the shit out of him, and he's just like, "Bruh." So Geppetto then is like, you know what, whatever. Teaches him how to walk.
Yeah.
Teaches him how to run. And as soon as Pinocchio learns how to walk, that bitch is out the door. He's
Oh,
like, "I'm out." He gets caught. Sent by like essentially the police. They bring him back to Geppetto, and they think that Geppetto is mistreating Pinocchio, that he's actually an actual real boy, because that's how realistic Geppetto has carved him, and
that's
they take Geppetto to jail.
damn.
I didn't know they did that.
I didn't.
Yeah,
Oh,
they
yeah, I didn't know they
imprison
did that.
Geppetto.
God damn.
So at least we know he was a master carver, but like, god damn, he didn't have to go to jail for him.
Well, no, it probably
Oh,
served him right. Like Geppetto was kind of a dick.
yeah, Geppetto was a dick. So they were
Like,
like,
like
they, like we said, he was a town drunk.
Oh, yeah.
He was mean. He was, he was not like as nice a guy as most of the stories make it. Like all the stories make it like, oh, he's a sweet old man who always wanted to have children and never could. No,
oh man,
he was a dick.
He wasn't
He's
allowed to have
a mean
kids.
old man. This is a mean old man.
Probably no one wanted it.
So this
that's
goes
true.
into,
That's true.
this goes into our spoiler from earlier.
Oh,
So
yeah.
after Geppetto is arrested, Pinocchio gets hungry, so he heads back to the house. Once he gets to the house, there's a talking cricket. So the cricket tells him, "Hey, listen, you need to behave, or else bad things in retaliation will happen to you." And he starts explaining the perils of disobedience to Pinocchio. Pinocchio, being the little shithead he is, throws a hammer at the cricket and kills it.
Sounds
So he
about
eventually kills Jiminy Cricket. And
right.
that's the last.
Spoiler alert.
He
He comes back halfway through the story as a
So-
ghost cricket.
so
Spoiler alert.
why you spoil?
it says it literally says spoiler alert right there,
Yeah.
man. Like, I did on
I-
accident. You
I,
weaponizing competence, man. I tell you,
I'm
dog.
not
Like, straight
weaponizing
up.
incompetence.
Hey, man, nah, bro. Every
I'm
time,
not
bro.
doing anything wrong. All right.
Nah.
So after Pinocchio kills the cricket, he goes back. So he just continues going on with his day. He gets hungry, makes himself a fried egg, but he took the egg from a bird outside.
Whoa.
So then, the bird gets pissed off and attacks Pinocchio, essentially. So then he has to leave because he can't eat the egg because the bird is essentially pissed off at him. So then he goes to the neighbor's house, and knocks on the door, and then he figures he's pulling a childish prank, and then he like dumps water on the neighbor. Well, no, the neighbor dumps water on Pinocchio, and then Pinocchio goes home and he lies down by the stove. And then when he wakes up, he's learned his feet have been burned off.
Oh.
And so Geppetto was released from prison, and he's like, "Fine, I'll make you a new pair of feet. You gotta promise me you're gonna go to school." So he promises Geppetto, "I'll go to school. I'll be a good boy." Geppetto sells his only coat to buy him, like, a new pair of feet, and then to get him all the things he needs to go to school.
Yeah. See, Geppetto was being a good person after that.
Yeah, in the end, Geppetto started, he's like, this little boy is my responsibility. Because you have to remember, all the malice went into Pinocchio.
Oh.
So
Okay.
now he's the good person.
Okay.
Because this is supposed to like be like a moral kind of lesson.
This is one of the
like-
first lessons.
Yeah, it's one of the first lessons is that this is a lesson they tried to teach back then to a lot of people, that children are your happiness in life. And that's kind of what Geppetto was supposed to represent.
Fair enough, but Pinocchio
You can't
ain't
see
nobody's
me, but
happiness.
I'm doing air quotes, y'all. You can't see me, but there's
Air, air quotes are implied heavily here.
They're very heavily implied. So on his way to school, Pinocchio encounters the marionette theater. He sells his school books that Geppetto, sold his only coat for
Yeah.
to buy a ticket to this show. During the performance, he sees all the different puppeteers, all the different puppets, and then he meets the main puppeteer that we see in a lot of like the adaptations of Pinocchio. He's like, so he angers the puppet master, and so he decides to use Pinocchio for firewood to cook his lamb dinner.
God damn.
Pinocchio,
Sorry.
like,
Call me a
pleads-
nerd.
yeah,
I caught you off guard, so it's like, god damn.
Pinocchio pleads for his life, as well as one of the other puppets' salvation.
Yeah.
And upon learning, that he's, Geppetto's essentially child, and that Geppetto is poor, and he releases him because he feels bad. And then he gives him like 5 pieces of gold and tells him, go home, give this to your father. So on his way, this is where Pinocchio meets the next set of villains, which is he meets the fox and the cat. Cat pretends to be blind, the fox pretends to be lame. And then in all of that, a white blackbird tries to warn Pinocchio, hey, these two are shady. Do not listen to them. The cat then eats the bird to stop him from warning people. So the two animals convince Pinocchio that if he plants his coin in the Field of Miracles outside the city, that it'll grow a tree of coins. They stop at an inn where the fox and the cat trick Pinocchio into paying their meal, and then they leave. They instruct the innkeeper and they tell him Pinocchio is the one that has the money, get after him. And then so after receiving that message, the cat's eldest kitten falls ill, and they meet Pinocchio at the Field of Miracles in the morning. So this is where we meet the ghost of the cricket. Again, he appears telling him to go home, give the coins to his father. Pinocchio again ignores his warning as he passes through the forest. The fox and cat rob Pinocchio because they're there waiting to ambush him. He hides the coins in his mouth, escapes to a white house after biting the cat's paw off, and then he's greeted by a young fairy with turquoise hair who says she is dead and is waiting for the hearse. So this is where the fairy godmother comes in.
Yeah.
She tells Pinocchio, she's like, I've rescued you, called 3 doctors in to evaluate him. One says he's alive, the other he's dead. The third doctor is the ghost of the talking cricket who says he's a puppet, he's fine, he's just been really disobedient to his father and has hurt him. The fairy then, gives Pinocchio medicine. She heals him. Pinocchio lies to the fairy when she asks what happened to the gold coins, and then his nose begins to grow. Because the fairy explains to him, since Pinocchio wishes to keep lying, she's put a little like spell on him
Like a little
that'll
curse.
that'll make his nose grow for every time he tells a lie. And then she calls in a flock of woodpeckers to chisel it down and says that she's going to send for Geppetto to come and live with them in the forest cottage. So he heads out there to go and meet Geppetto. He encounters the fox and the cat again. He notices that the cat's paw is missing, that they sacrificed it to feed to an old wolf. Again, Pinocchio, they remind Pinocchio, hey, go leave the coins in the Field of Miracles.
Yeah.
So then he goes and he plants the gold. Because, Pinocchio's a bad little boy.
Yeah.
He's a childlike brain.
So, of course, the fox and the cat, they dig up the coins, steal them. They're gone. So, once Pinocchio returns, a parrot mocks him for falling for the cat and the mouse's trick. He pleads to this gorilla that the judge, it's supposed to be like some sort of judge of the forest. And, he pleads, please lighten my sentence, please. I didn't. Technically, Pinocchio stole the coins. So the judge is like, you're going to jail for this. So he pleads and he pleads and he gives the sentence of 4 months to prison since he wants to be so foolish. Fortunately, all criminals are released early by the jailer when the Emperor of the Catch Falls declares a celebration of the army's victories in different towns. He heads back into the forest and he starts meeting other people.
So up to this point, Pinocchio has not learned any lessons and just been getting
He
away.
has not learned anything at all.
Dude has already encountered liars, strangers,
thieves, and he
thieves.
Swindlers.
to be foolish, fall for all their lies, and
Dude.
in turn telling lies as he goes.
All he's learned is just how to tell lies.
Exactly. All he's learned is to tell lies and try not to get in trouble for what he's doing, but chooses not to reform his actions. So Pinocchio heads back to the fairy's house in the forest. He sneaks into the farmer's yard, steals grapes. He's caught by a weasel trap. The farmer finds Pinocchio, ties him up in his doghouse. When Pinocchio foils chickens stealing weasels, the farmer lets him go. He finally gets back to the cottage, finds nothing but a gravestone, believes that the fairy has died.
Oh.
Because he sees like a pigeon.
Yeah.
So a pigeon comes by, sees Pinocchio mourning the fairy, offers him a ride to the seashore where Geppetto is building a boat to search for Pinocchio. Because this whole time, Geppetto has no idea where his kid is. His kid was supposed to come straight home after trying to find him. He was supposed to come to this cottage. So Geppetto's like hella scared. Like, where is he?
Yeah, where's my son
So-
at?
Yeah, where the hell's my kid? So he builds a boat, search for Pinocchio. Pinocchio's washed ashore when he tries to swim to his father. Geppetto is then swallowed by the terrible dogfish, which I believe a lot of stories later on change it into a whale.
Some are like the
That was a
giant sharks.
dogfish.
Yeah, it's either a giant cat. I think the last time I saw it was like a catfish on one of the stories,
Yeah,
like a really big catfish.
I've seen dogfish. I've seen catfish. I've seen sharks. I've seen whales.
Yeah. Point is, he's swollen.
It's a big fish.
Yeah, so Pinocchio takes a ride on a dolphin to the nearest island, which is the island of the busy bees.
What?
Pinocchio. Yeah, so this is where Pinocchio falls onto the island and he's forced into manual labor in order to get food in return. He offers to carry, a lady's jug home. He recognizes this lady as the fairy who used to help him. She's now, old enough to be his mother. She says she will be his mother as long as he begins to go to school. She hints that if Pinocchio does well in school and is good for 1 year, then he will become a real boy. She tells him, you behave, then you get to be a real boy.
After
So-
a year of servitude, pretty much.
Yeah, after a year of being a good boy.
Okay.
Going to school, doing nice things, he will be rewarded. So he does this, he starts to be good, he becomes the top of his class, he makes all the other boys jealous. They try to trick Pinocchio into playing hooky by saying they saw a large sea monster at the beach, the same one that swallowed Geppetto. You have to remember, Pinocchio saw Geppetto get swallowed by this fish.
I just left him out there.
Well, he tried to get to him, but he couldn't. And so he's pretty sure that Geppetto's dead. However, the boys were lying. A fight breaks out. Pinocchio is accused of injuring another boy. And so during the escape, Pinocchio saves a drowning mastiff. Later on, this mastiff saves him from the green fisherman. And then after meeting the snail that works for the fairy, Pinocchio is given another chance by the fairy because technically he did break her rule.
Yeah.
He did not behave. He started a fight. And essentially is now in trouble for it.
Yeah.
So again, he goes back to doing good. As promised, the fairy turns Pinocchio into a real boy. She says that he can invite all his friends to a party since now he is a new, little boy.
Yeah. A new being.
So this is when the boy named Candlewick tells on about a place named Toyland and how they all should go. So Pinocchio goes along with them, and they have a wonderful time for the next 5 months. On the morning of the 5th month, Pinocchio and Candlewick are awake with donkey ears. So this is when
it gets
they
scary
are
for me.
heard. This is when the big moment that most people recognize as the scariest is when all the boys turn into donkeys. So they both are fully transformed into donkeys. Pinocchio is sold to the circus where he's trained to do tricks until he falls and sprains his leg. After seeing the fairy with the turquoise hair on one of the box seats, the ringmaster sells Pinocchio to a man who wants to skin him alive and make him into a drum. The man then throws the donkey into the sea to drown him. So when the man goes to retrieve the corpse, all he finds is a living marionette. Pinocchio explains that the fish ate all the donkey skin off of him and he's now a puppet again. Pinocchio dives back into the ocean, swims out to the sea. He finds the dogfish.
So this has been over a year since Geppetto has been swallowed.
Yep, Geppetto is still in the fish. So Geppetto is still essentially in the fish. Candlewick is dead. At this point, probably.
Yeah. Probably.
Because this is just a general adaptation. If this is just a generalization for those who are listening. If I were to go into very detail, that whole donkey thing is much worse.
We
Yeah, we're gonna.
we don't talk about donkeys.
Yeah, it's much worse. So the dogfish hears Pinocchio swallowed by it. Inside the dogfish, Pinocchio finds Geppetto alive. Geppetto and him help escape with the help of a tuna. They look for a new place to live. Pinocchio and Geppetto encounter the cat and the fox again. The cat has really become blind. The foxes are now really lame. So they're again pleading for food and money. Pinocchio is like, hell no, I've already learned. I'm not gonna help you. You earned your misfortune, now you have to deal with it.
Bravo.
Geppetto and Pinocchio arrive at a small house, which is the home of the talking cricket. The talking cricket says they can stay and reveals that he got this house from a little goat with turquoise hair. Pinocchio gets a job doing farm work, recognizes the farmer's dying donkey as his friend Candlewick after long months of working in the farm supporting a dying Geppetto. Pinocchio goes to town with his 40 pennies so he could buy Geppetto and himself a new suit. He discovers that the fairy is ill and needs money. He instantly gives the snail he met back on the island of the busy bees all the money he has to save the fairy. He dreams that the fairy has visited him that night and she kisses him. And when he wakes up, he becomes a real boy. The former puppet buddy lies lifeless on a chair. The fairy has also left him a new suit, boots, and a bag containing 40 gold instead of pennies. And Geppetto's health has also returned to him. And that is the end of Pinocchio.
So it ends in a happy note.
That's not the story ending I know.
So, with fairy tales, you essentially want to end on
Happy
and
note.
they all lived happily ever after.
Yeah, not all of them though.
What
Not all
was
of them, but it's meant to be the main character lives happily ever after
In a fairy tale.
Yeah.
in a fairy tale.
And what
In a
what
fable,
in the fable is
all of them
completely
die.
different.
all of them
That's
can
true.
die and it wouldn't matter.
That is
Yeah.
true. What other ending do you know, Noah?
At the end of it, Pinocchio gets hung
There
at the end of a
is
tree.
there is in the original story.
What?
No,
Yeah,
in the
he
original
dies.
story, he becomes a real boy, but
Yeah.
for all his bad crimes,
He gets hung on a
he
tree and he
gets
dies.
hung. He gets
Yeah.
hung for it. But
Yeah.
to appease the fairy tale
The
kind
fairy
of
tale
vibe
aspect.
aspect,
Like, dude, there's
the rest of the world changed it to
Lives happily ever after.
he lives
because
happily ever after.
Yeah,
Alright, well-
'cause you said you guys had two other ones that you wanted to talk
Well,
about.
for-
Are you spacing it out from podcasts?
Well, from now, we're talking about two other next episode, but for now, I didn't know he got hanged.
Yes.
Dude, Ye-
So
What is it, Sam?
again, this story is a warning to behave or suffer the consequences.
But that's some kind of fucking consequence. That
So
is
It's not all the other stories though, like with any of the other fantasy stories, they have very, very explicit dark endings. Like some of the other ones you guys are gonna talk about, and I probably won't be here for it, depending, but
yeah.
No, they're really
some
bad.
of the other, they're fucking bad.
Yeah.
Like
They're
the Pinocchio
really,
one's
really
like,
bad.
oh, okay, yeah, he gets hung on a tree. Like, yeah, that's
Yeah.
dark, but
It was changed.
I don't even want to get into some of the other ones, dude. They're fucked up.
Like so the original ending didn't get necessarily published past the first probably print of the book
Mhm.
because Coletti's publisher was like, look, we know this is, how this
no, that's too dark.
but yeah, they're like, it's too dark. You need to switch it to that the boy
He-
survives if you want to sell this book.
Like,
Essentially, is what they told him.
He produced, I think from what I read, it said he produced the first copy that everyone knows, the original,
yeah, the
in
fairy tale.
1881, and then there was another one in 1882, which I think is the darker version that he couldn't get fully published, so I feel like he self-published it.
Yeah, he did.
Because
So once his book came out, he published what he originally wanted. Because a
Mhm.
lot of what he originally wanted, his publishers were like, "No, you can't do that, especially because you're marketing this as a children's book.
Yeah.
Parents will
he-
not
Okay.
accept this."
so in reality, he kind of became the original Stephen King.
Yeah,
Pretty much,
Pretty
yeah.
much.
Just
Is
with
there-
fantasy stories.
'cause it's like I was telling you, a lot of the things that happened. There was more boys than just Pinocchio and Candlewick. There was
Yeah.
multiple boys. They went on this island to have fun. They were
And they all died.
tortured. They were
Mhm.
abused. They all died on that island.
Pinocchio, if I remember correctly, like even just from the Disney adaptation,
Yeah.
a lot of the shit in that movie as well, like he was a slave. You know, I didn't want to say what when Stampy was explaining earlier, like, oh, he was doing a servitude. Like, no, he was a slave. He was he was being treated poorly and abused. He was, the whole situation with his feet and everything, like all that shit. Like he was abused by the townspeople. He was technically a slave because Geppetto being the brokest motherfucker on the island.
Yeah.
Was also treated like shit.
Mm-hmm.
And also,
But then again,
reputation.
Geppetto, like we said,
Geppetto-
Geppetto in the original adaptation of this story, the one he wanted to
Was-
publish,
yeah.
was also a very cruel, abusive mother. Like he would abuse the hell out of Pinocchio.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Like
so he was
when
I think
Pinocchio
the-
escaped,
Yeah, I think
Um,
the original, his feet got cut off by Geppetto. Not
Yeah,
Cut
they
off?
did.
Not, what
Yeah,
the fuck?
he-
they
Yeah.
got
damn.
cut off.
as a
'Cause that-
punishment.
Yeah.
As a punishment, because he pissed off Geppetto, so he cut off his feet. He then, Pinocchio then convinces Geppetto he won't run, so then Geppetto's fine, I'll give you back your feet, because he wants him to start doing chores again.
Yep.
As soon as he puts the feet, he takes off, he goes, he tells the police, and that's why Geppetto gets arrested.
God damn.
Yep.
Can you find this original book?
You can, but it is very hard.
Yeah, it'll probably be worth a lot of money on eBay.
It's
Yeah.
worth
Shit.
You gotta go to, or you can go to Portlandia and go find an old-fashioned bookstore.
Damn, you played him.
Oh my god. Yo, I
Oh,
did research, looked at it, I was like, oh yeah, this is pretty fucked up. Nah, bro. That's fucked up. You
You're
told me
letting
Geppetto
go.
went, stink.
Yeah,
Feet.
Geppetto
What?
abused the living hell out of Pinocchio. Like,
He beat the
That's
living
what I'm
shit out of
saying.
him.
yeah, dude, some of the other stories that you guys are gonna get into,
I also want to point
They're-
out.
fucking fucked up.
I also want to point out the fairy also was not a good person
Oh no.
in the
Was it-
original.
Mm.
story.
I
She
had
was
heard somewhere that
not a good person.
I heard somewhere that the fairy wasn't like at first
She
she was
was-
believed to be like an evil spirit. or
No,
some
she
sort.
was an evil spirit. In the original one, she was an evil spirit. She was initially she was the one who gave Pinocchio the warning. The cricket came in because he didn't know. He's like, I don't want my fairy to be all goody goody. which is why she remains in the background.
Mm,
The cricket was supposed to be the moral compass. But in the original story, I don't believe, other than the first time he warns Pinocchio,
yeah,
the cricket doesn't come back. he kills him, and that's it.
yeah.
He's gone.
On over here on chat, Yenny said, "Damn, he played him."
Yeah.
Big
Yeah.
time play.
Oh, everything froze for a second. 1 second, chat. All right,
Pinocchio.
we're back.
All. Uh-oh.
Yeah, everything kind of froze on me for a second.
Did recording
Yeah. Oh
stop?
yeah. The stream just dropped.
Yeah,
Oh, no.
yeah, just
Yeah, streaming and
refresh.
recording does take a hit on Buddha.
Yeah, something must have happened. I don't know what happened.
So I just record the podcast, man. I'm like, it's just solely just recorded and then I just upload it.
Yeah,
No,
yeah,
I
yeah.
like taking the time uploading.
Yeah,
That's
I
only
do.
if I can edit.
Oh yeah,
But yeah, Pinocchio's it's a deep, dark rabbit hole. Some of the other stories that you guys will get into are even darker rabbit holes. And
Which is why on some of them
I-
I'm like,
yeah,
that's
I don't know.
why.
I don't know if you'll
That's
be able to
also
about a
part
lot
of the
them.
reason why some of them I want them just to be them, because they have so many different endings and adaptations, and a lot of them are not pretty.
yeah,
And
dude, it's not
might,
pretty
it
at
might
all.
be it might not be YouTube. I mean it'll be YouTube worthy, but you're
It's
gonna have to
YouTube.
restrict the video to 18 and up only.
Yeah, and we don't want to do all that.
Oh,
Yeah,
you-
it's
okay.
that.
Okay,
Is
she's-
that, is
I,
that
I
kind of
remember she was
gruesome?
telling me
Like
about
just
one of them.
swearing in your video,
So-
you can get past that on YouTube, but the whole story between some of the
Dude,
other
yeah,
characters.
some of the
get
stories that I
into.
know, oh my god, you
That
cannot talk
kind
about this
of
stuff.
that goes into our next stories.
Mhm.
Uh,
The next two.
Dude,
Yep.
one of
Yeah.
the next two that we want to do.
yeah. If y'all
One
want to
of
know,
them is they're both very gruesome in the end, but one of them it will be warned because it is a trigger warning.
yeah, if y'all want to know exactly how bad this gets, and we're gonna tread lightly around like how far we can push them, how far we can push it, and what is safe. We're gonna have to talk about these stories a lot. Make sure what we can say, cannot say. Yeah,
Um,
tune into
so
next time. But for now,
we're gonna just so everybody knows, our next stories we wanted to discuss
yeah,
was Sleeping Beauty and Snow White. These stories are very, very heavy trigger warnings.
very
So
heavy.
if you are triggered by torture or sexual assault,
Mhm.
Yeah, SA.
please skip next week's episode.
Yeah, or if you're just interested in all this, yeah, come back. We'll be
Yeah,
We'll
I mean, we welcome you to
You
come
can-
back, but
yeah.
Or you can go read
you
the book
guys
yourself.
have you need to be warned. If you guys have bad issues with these topics and cannot listen to them,
Yeah.
we advise you don't listen to next week's podcast.
Listen
Anyway.
at your own risk.
Yeah.
Alright, anyways, back to Pinocchio. Right now, after I got done hearing all of that, have y'all seen the newer adaptations?
I haven't.
Okay. So skip the Disney live action one. Like that one is just
There's a live action one.
Yeah, they made it like
with
at
Tom
the
Hanks.
beginning. Yeah,
Tom
they
Hanks
made it
is
like
the pedo.
somewhere.
Fuck.
They made it somewhere middle of last year. It's basically just the live action version
Oh,
of the Disney version.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a
It was a
it's,
COVID movie. Okay.
It's-
The live action movies from Disney are just terrible. I'm
it's
sorry.
it's a vanilla original
Thanks.
Pinocchio.
It's the vanilla.
Yeah, it's a very vanilla original Pinocchio. It takes out a lot of the stuff. They take out
It
them.
took out as much as it could.
Dude,
to take
it's
out
a-
a lot.
I'm mad they just kind of threw Tom Hanks in there. Like I wouldn't like.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Okay.
Tom Hanks is Geppetto.
He does a good job. He does a good job as Geppetto.
It's Tom
Yeah.
Hanks. He's always
Yeah,
gonna
it's
do a
Tom
good
Hanks,
job.
but
Yeah, but
this was like out of left field. Like, anyways, yeah.
Anyways, so if y'all haven't watched it, watch the Guillermo del Toro on Netflix Pinocchio. That one is very close to pretty much everything that we just talked about. of course, with some with some liberties that he took for his story. But yeah, in that movie, if y'all haven't seen it, Pinocchio's an asshole. Pinocchio is an unliked asshole. The entire time I was like, dude, what the fuck? Like,
Well, technically, in the original story, he is an
Yeah, so it's true
unliked
to the story.
asshole. He's
yeah,
hella worse than what I described currently. Like, he's
yeah,
12
like,
times worse. He's selfish. He's aggressive.
mm-hmm. Yeah, he is like mean, and he just doesn't care. Especially whenever he's first born, quote unquote. Uh, Dude is just everywhere. He is all over the place. Like, and I was like, oh my god, dude. But just some no non spoilers, just some quick changes that they've done. This takes place during World War II. This takes place during World War II. They do talk about the story where Geppetto loses his child. So in this story, Geppetto loses his child to the war, and Pinocchio gets taken to a youth military training camp. That's the changes that he's made, not spoilery. Just other quick changes. And everything else is pretty close to the original. Like the fairy godmother is not pretty much a fairy godmother. She's the spirit of the elements. Yeah, I highly recommend this movie. It's a really good movie, but you hate this Pinocchio. This Pinocchio is annoying. It's very close to the original, to how bad Pinocchio really was.
Interesting.
I suggest you watch. It's a good watch. It's a good
Okay.
watch. And then it's stop motion. The way that Guillermo del Toro did the way they did all the other movies, Nightmare Before Christmas and stuff. It looks like that, but
Okay.
more updated. In the style of Guillermo del Toro. So have you seen Pan's Labyrinth and those type of movies?
Mhm.
In that style, it's a very good movie. But yeah, even I saw that and I was like, and then I heard the story. Pinocchio was he was a dick.
Oh yeah, no, he was a big dick.
Yeah. No, well, no,
No,
he was
no.
a piece of log.
Yeah.
So
Wow. Wow.
Good one. Good one.
but no, that's interesting. So one thing I'm curious about after hearing about the original version and the darker version that Noah kind of just dropped on me real quick, that both Noah and Savvy kind of dropped on me. Later on, they're creating like a Pinocchio Soulsborne game, and I'm curious.
Oh yeah, they are right.
Yeah, I'm curious if they're gonna which version they're gonna go about that, because Soulsborne games are naturally dark, right?
Naturally.
So it would be interesting to see how they would tie in the original ending where he gets hung and all the fucked up gruesome things that happen to him into the game.
I don't think that ending is ever going to be put into a Pinocchio piece.
They did it in Little Misfortunes.
They did?
I haven't seen it, but
I haven't seen it either. That's why I'm surprised. Like they did? Oh,
so
shit.
Little Misfortunes is kind of in a way, it's a natural. It's like a Pinocchio thing. It's a natural consequence type game. You make your choices. You follow. You get the consequences of said choices.
Yeah.
They put straight up hanging in that game. That game is not for the faint of heart, no matter how cute it looks. That game will mess you up.
You said called Little Misfortunes.
Little Misfortunes.
Twice.
Little Misfortunes is so sad now that I
And
remember the name.
It twice?
Made me cry. So it's because there's multiple endings.
Yeah,
and
there's
it made
multiple
me cry
endings.
both times I went through this game.
Dude, the game is so sad. Little Misfortunes is such a sad game.
Why does it look so cutesy?
don't let the art fool you.
Don't let it fool you, and they throw in a lot of like humor, dark humor.
Yeah, it's a lot. It's funny. It's a lot of dark humor. But once you actually know the story and you like watch the entire story, oh my god, it's so freaking sad.
I had people had to step away from my stream. They literally messaged me after my stream saying, "I'm sorry, I had to step away. It was just too much."
It was so sad, and there's a lot of the reviews that you see. They say the same thing. It's so sad, like they couldn't get themselves to finish it. They had to force themselves to finish the game because it's so sad.
What why is Tony a redhead?
Huh?
So I was drunk to play it the second time because that's how upset it made me the first time.
Yeah, they say Stony. Stony is one of Misfortune's many toys.
Yeah.
It's a little rock. It's her pet rock.
Mm-hmm.
Why he got blood? Why he got blood on his head like that?
It tells you, and it's part of the game.
It's part of the game.
It's one of your natural choices. So this game is like I said, essentially like Pinocchio. You make your choices, whether you tell the truth, you lie, you choose to do a good deed, or you choose to do a bad one. And following that, it's gonna show you the natural consequences for your actions.
And she's completely oblivious to either or.
Huh.
It is a very great game. I highly recommend it.
But have tissues by your side.
Yeah.
No,
Or
I'm
a
good.
very, very strong drink.
Yeah, nah,
Yeah.
I'm
that
good.
one.
I already see my therapist about too many things. I don't need to add another thing to the list, man.
I played
actually-
this, be like, I played this video game the other day.
Yeah, open up some childhood memories I thought I forgot, but boom, here I am.
Oh, dude. It's childhood memories. That game.
Not good childhood memories, no.
No, I'm not talking about good childhood memories.
That game
does not bring good childhood memories. That game does not bring good childhood memories. I can tell you that for sure.
Oh, I found the story I left off on.
Nice. All right. Anybody else got any final thoughts, final opinions on this?
No.
Nah.
You
Uh,
said your piece.
Beware of your choices and aware of the consequences that come with them.
don't be a little shit.
Don't be a shit.
I
Yeah,
think-
don't
I
be
think-
a little shit.
I think that's the main lesson. Don't be a little shit.
Well, it's don't be a shithead. Essentially, beware of the choices that you make because it will lead to one consequence or another.
Yeah.
Also,
Okay.
don't tell lies.
Yeah. So don't tell lies. Don't be a little shithead. Watch out for your actions.
Yeah. Essentially, watch your actions.
Respect your parents.
There you go.
There you go. Respect your parents. That one should be in the first.
As Mr. Lemon said, actions have consequences.
Mr. Lemon. You're terrible. You know what? But yeah, that'll wrap up this little Pinocchio episode. And goddamn, I learned a lot about Pinocchio. I wasn't expecting that ending. Noah, thank you.
Like literally, I'm about to go watch Adventure Time just so I won't have terrible nightmares because of the ending. So
Are you sure you won't have terrible nightmares watching it?
Be careful
No-
which episodes of Adventure Time you
Yeah,
watch.
but no, say, like,
I'm
Adventure
starting.
Time.
I'm starting. I'm starting it from the beginning. I'm starting it from the beginning.
Oh, you're starting from the sweet
You're
spot.
fine.
Okay.
You're
Yeah.
fine. You're
Okay.
fine. You're fine.
Yeah.
The
I-
further
I-
you get, though,
Look,
gotta be
I'm
careful.
about to say, like, yeah.
I hope you fall asleep and wake up to the Lich episode.
Why would you do that?
Why do you
I hope he nods off, and then when he wakes up,
just...
It's on the
freaking
worm,
Lich
King
is right
Worm.
there. The King Worm just staring at him.
Oh, dude.
See, I'm gonna just watch anime. Fuck, that's safe, bro. Y'all.
Go watch Sesame Street. Go fall asleep watching Sesame Street.
Pretty much. Look, cause see, I was aware of
Go watch
Adventure Time
Elmo.
being like a spiritual ego death journey type shit.
Oh,
but y'all like,
dude.
hey,
It truly is.
It's rugged,
It,
dude.
yeah.
It's rugged.
it basically is, especially once you get like the third season.
Mm-hmm.
It's
Yeah,
a drug
once you
induced
get,
journey.
yeah, once you get to like the like middle of the second season to the third season, it's a whole trip. It's a whole 180 of a show.
Mm-hmm.
And then it just essentially gets darker and
And
darker
darker.
and darker
And
as it goes
depressing.
along.
And
So
depressing and
stocked up
sad.
on shrooms. Got it.
Candy
There you
people eat the candy people.
Candy
No.
people. The poor
Candy
candy people.
Candy people. The candy people are a joke from the beginning.
We don't even get into.
Okay.
Yeah.
Goodbye, everybody.
Goodbye.
Alright, everybody. Yeah, well, this has been a Pinocchio's episode. His story, his tragedies, and tragedies he caused himself. His misactions, misfortunes. Poor Geppetto. Poor Geppetto. He really cared about Pinocchio.
Nah. Ain't no port.
I felt bad for him because
bro, because he's over here chopping off people's feet and shit.
I feel bad for him at the end.
Constraint.
Alright, everybody. We stream this live every day over here on twitch.tv/illiteracy22, where you can join our chat. You heard me read from it earlier. So yeah, y'all free to say your piece whenever we're talking. You can say whatever you want. Comment on it. We'll read your comments.
We read everything in the chat.
Yeah, we read everything. Yeah, well, you can find us anywhere you listen to on podcasts on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, over at Mismatch Misfits, and you can find us over on YouTube at youtube.com/Mismatch Misfits Pod. I got tongue tied there for a second. Yeah. Please come back for the next episodes because they are about to be wild. This is just a taste, and the next ones are gonna get even wilder. All right, bye everybody.
Peace.
Bye.